dyslexia, okay?
Dishonor on you! Dishonor on your cow!
Welcome, foolish mortals.
It is with deepest pride and greatest pleasure that we welcome you tonight.
Obscure Disney Podcast.
Brought to you by JJ's Incredible Cookie Company, the perfect treat for your dimension-jumping child.
To all who have come to this podcast, welcome. You're listening to the Obscure Disney Podcast. I'm Steven.
And I'm Ryan.
And with new episodes coming out every Tuesday and Thursday, why not get a free annual pass by subscribing to our podcast on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts at. Simply look for Obscurity Disney Podcast. And today, we are talking about all things Incredibles.
Ooh, there you go. It's going to be an incredible podcast, y'all.
Or maybe more specifically, an Incredibles 2 podcast,
Ooh,
right?
2 times the incredible.
2 times the Incredibles. I think that's what people call us, isn't it?
Aw, that would be nice if they did.
That would be nice about
New
that.
names.
So, with it being a very timely thing with the movie coming out like a month ago, let's talk about how we felt about the Incredibles 2 movie.
Okay. Well, I think it should be said initially that you had not seen The Incredibles.
No.
And so I insisted that we had to watch the first Incredibles before we went to see the second one.
Yeah, most people said they had to wait like 14 years or something before it.
Right.
15 years?
Yeah.
For me, it was more like 15 minutes.
Right. You got to see the first one and then immediately go see the second one. So you lucked out more than most of us.
I did. It was like the night before.
Did you like the first one? What did you think of the first one?
I did. It was a great show. Do you know what I noticed the most, obviously, seeing them that close together? As I was thinking, boy, these parents' voices sure have aged a lot.
That 20 minutes between the end of the story the first time and the beginning of the story the second one just aged them, huh?
That was an exhausting night that they all had.
It was hard, yeah.
But honestly, like the characters, like the guy who does the dad, he was the original character. He was the head character in that Coach movie that was back on.
Craig T. Nielsen, right?
Right. Yeah, and that was on in what, the 80s, 90s?
Oh, I don't know.
Early 90s.
Sure.
But he was old then when that came out.
Was he old? How old is he now? Do we know?
I could look it up, but he was definitely receding hairline back in the 90s.
Well, that don't mean nothing. I got 2 bald brothers, and they are both under 30.
Right?
So.
They bald before they can even get into a bar. Because I know that's where they go. But
yeah.
Anyway, so I was happy that they were able to still play parents as animated figures. That was...
The first Incredibles was a lot of people's favorite Pixar movie. It wasn't my favorite, but I thought it was fun. It was a fun movie, an interesting look at superheroes and what would happen if superheroes had to be underground and whatnot. Fun movie. What I noticed between the first and the second one is the improvement in the software. The rendering ability is so infinitely better now than it was even back when they did The Incredibles originally. So you see a lot more subtlety and a lot more nuance, and everyone looks a little bit more real, and I thought it looked amazing.
Yeah, 15 years did a lot for animation.
It does, yeah. They have way more
live
things
action
they
is
can do.
now animation, it feels like.
Live action's way worse than animation. If I was ever in a movie, I'd be like, just put me in digitally.
Just digitally render me in. Take off my beard like they did Superman.
Right. But the second one, I was a little nervous going in because Edna and Jack were so popular in the first movie. I was a little worried that they were going to be real heavy-handed with Edna and Jack.
Right.
And I think they struck the perfect balance where you got to see enough of them that they were fun to watch, but it wasn't so much that you were like, okay, it's turned into the Edna and Jack show, right?
I'd be all about the Edna and Jack show.
Would you be about that?
Well, yeah, because they were super cute in the first one.
They were.
And you had voiced your concern that they're going to be way too much in the second one.
Right.
And then they didn't, at the end, you find yourself that you did want to see them a lot more than what you did see them. And I guess it's maybe the good thing for an animation to do so that it makes you want to go back and watch it over and over again.
Right.
So maybe it was the perfect chord.
Yeah.
Because it does make me want to go back and watch them again just so I can watch Edna, because dang, she is funny, y'all.
I love Edna, and I love Jack Jack. You know, I think the complete randomness of what he can do makes him fun to watch.
Oh my gosh.
And then the way they show him using his powers is so
incredible.
Stylized,
Incredibly fun.
Oh my goodness, incredible. How many times are we going to say that during this podcast? Keep a tally. Yeah, the way they show him using his power is so cinematic and fun that it's just exciting to watch.
Yeah.
So kudos to them for making great characters out of the smaller characters.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Did
So
you
good.
dislike anything about the movie?
Oh gosh, no.
Not a thing.
Not a thing. It's been a couple of weeks since we've seen it, so
Right.
I can't remember anything that I didn't necessarily like.
All the positive has stayed more than the negative.
Yeah, you know, and what I really did like about it though is how much it empowered women and mothers in specifically speaking, how
Right.
much she was empowered in this film. You're like,
Right.
now that I can support.
Right, for sure.
makes me
Because the
happy.
first movie, it was a lot about him. It was a lot about Mr. Incredible. And this time, Elastigirl gets to kind of take over the story and be the face of the family.
Yeah, she's a
which
hard-working woman
She
too.
works
isn't
hard
she?
for the money.
She works hard for that money. Hard for the money.
And it's, you know, it's a fun movie. They did a very adequate job of doing a sequel to a movie that people have wanted for a long time.
Yeah, and people are just absolutely loving it. Rotten Tomatoes, it has a 93% approval with critics,
Oh,
and
there you go.
87% with fangoers, which is normally opposite with Disney movies. It's normally like the fans love it more than the critics do.
True.
But yeah, but still, 93 and 87%.
And it's dangerous. It's dangerous to do a sequel this many years after where the hype is built up so much
Oh, yeah.
that you could very easily fall on your face. But they did a really good job of satisfying people's need for a sequel to The Incredibles.
Yeah.
I say good for them.
And worldwide box office right now is about $951 million.
Oh. Well, that's not very much.
It's not. I think maybe if they use some of that money to improve the Incredicoster.
Oh, shady.
No, I'm kidding.
Oh my, call up Mr. Banks in here.
They don't need Mr. Banks' money. They got their own money.
They got Mr. Banks'
million.
money out of that movie.
They did on that one. Yeah, but the Incredicoaster.
The Incredicoaster.
Can we talk about this for a few minutes?
Let's. So, those of us that have been to Disney's California Adventure, we all got to ride this amazing roller coaster that's been there since opening, called California Screamin', down there at Paradise Pier in California Adventure. It's an amazingly fun ride. It has one full inversion in it, which is unusual for Disney parks. I think they don't do a lot of inversions on their attractions.
It's the only inversion that they have in all of California.
See, there you go.
Disney parks.
Right.
And do you know of any that they have over at Disney World?
I think the Aerosmith coaster does a inversion.
Oh, Inside the Dark.
Oh, scary.
Hallelujah. That's why we love that ride.
So this ride is a staple. You always need to get on this ride. And then they announced that they were shutting it down to retheme it as the Incredicoaster, meaning they're going to put the Incredibles on this coaster specifically. And you and I were really excited about this idea. And like we do, we would stand around and talk about what they should do to make this coaster incredible, for lack of a better word.
Oh, absolutely.
And we had great ideas.
Did I have some ideas?
Disney, you
y'all?
need to hire us. We had some great ideas.
Says everybody in the Disney community.
Right,
Like,
exactly.
everybody says that. But it's the third longest coaster in all of United States and is the 8th longest coaster in the entire world.
Oh,
So
really?
and it was one of the opening day attractions for California Adventure.
Right.
So it's been a staple for the park since the beginning. It was probably the very best thing that they've ever had in that. So to risk taking that down and turning it into something new was a bit shocking for us, I think, you know, like everybody. And so we started looking at the ride, and I know that you look at the ride itself, and it is 2 minutes and 13 seconds long.
Right.
and you look at how long the queue is from the time you get into the car and then you slowly drive past the train station, you slowly drive out to where you get started.
Right.
And there's a lot of space in there. I totally anticipated that they would build that into a show building of sorts.
Mm-hmm.
And then obviously that they would enclose the tubes and then do something inside those when you're moving at extreme miles, 55 miles per hour.
Right.
And then as you're coming back into the station, I thought that they would also build... Well, I had hoped, I shouldn't say I thought, but I had hoped that they would build a complete show building from that point on as well. Because if you add up the amount of time that you spend in the launch area,
mm-hmm.
and then as you're coming back into the train station, if you add that up, that's literally as long as the ride is.
Sure.
You spend as much time coming
Depending on how busy the day is, getting off that thing takes just as long as waiting in line.
And they did. They added Edna in both spots, but it's not a show building.
Right. Well, that's what so for those that haven't been as often as we have or anything like that, you get in the car and you like Steve said, you take a real slow turn out onto the launch area, which gives you, like Steve said, a ton of time where they could do something inside a building. Build out a building and do almost a scene or some dialogue or put some animatronics in there. Then I feel like the ride is so fast that you're really limiting yourself to what you can do while on ride. So those images have to be quick, or they have to keep up with the train, which both of which are extremely difficult to get right, I think. And then
you could if you would have inside the tube, if you had done something similar to what they do on Space Mountain, where the tube you actually go through like a projection tube.
Right.
You could do anything that you wanted at that point. You
Right.
could absolutely make it go as fast instead of just passing.
Yeah.
Because that's essentially what you're doing. You're just passing stagnant characters that just sit in there, right?
Well, we haven't told them what's on it yet.
Oh.
So in general, the ride already had, what do they call them, scream tubes?
Yeah, they were originally, the blue tubes that were on the ride originally are there to shield the screams from the ride from the neighbors next door.
Oh, wow.
Because it's in a neighborhood community, they say. And
so they have these literally, like you're going through almost a tunnel as you're going through certain parts of the ride that are up high where a lot of people would be screaming, right? And both Steve and I thought this would be a fun place to put in some projections or some lighting effects or something along those lines. Totally would be awesome. And then, like Steve said, at the end of the ride, while you're slowing down and waiting to get out of the ride and whatnot, you sit in there for a good few minutes. That would be awesome to have some animatronics again. I almost think about like the Cars Land ride, where the beginning's a little bit slower, you can do a little bit of character building, then you go fast, and at the end you have a little bit of character building at the end, right? And they have enough time for you to look at something. So I felt like this could be what they could do with The Incredibles.
Yeah.
And not to mention, standing in line at Disney is
Yes.
getting better and better because
Yeah.
they keep on improving their line structures and giving you things to look at while in line. I thought this ride was the perfect opportunity to put some sort of pre-show in the line.
Well, they did put up a couple of screens that do show a bit of a pre-show
They
video.
show characters, though,
Yeah.
and stuff.
But that's not what we were expecting
Right.
or hoping.
So, anyway, hype about the ride, right? Everybody's super excited about what they're going to do to the Incredicoaster. Do we know how long it was shut down for officially?
No, but like 4 months.
It was shut down for a few months, and I was like, wow, that is a real quick turnaround. They must have had everything prepped, and then that 4 months they spent painting and basically just plopping things into place.
Well, and we went on California Scream in the last couple of days before it closed, and we would go there first thing in the morning, and there'd be construction workers working right off the side of the tracks,
Right.
like getting ready for
Digging holes
They
and-
were putting the pylons in for where Edna's rooms are now,
Yeah.
and there was great big like caution signs, I think it said over the top,
Right.
right? It was danger.
Keep your hands out of here kind of stuff.
I'll have to
yeah.
see if I can find the picture, because seeing the danger sign off to the side was hilarious to
Right.
me. Like I was like, theming, keep it.
Theming. So that turnaround was real fast, and unfortunately we we're not able to go back as soon as it opened. We weren't as close as we used to be. And so basically we were like, well, maybe we'll spoil it for ourselves and look at some videos and see what they did, basically, right? And I would say that in general we were rather disappointed. Would you agree?
Oh yeah, just like everybody online though. Nah, I would say 80% of the comments online are pretty vicious.
Oh geez, I don't want to be vicious about it.
Yeah.
But I definitely was disappointed. I thought that they could do some amazing stuff with it.
Yeah.
And it turned more into just a standard coaster with minor theming, you know?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, and if you've seen I watched a lot of videos on the whole thing about, if you look at it in the daytime, it's pretty lackluster.
Yeah, it's underwhelming.
But if you look at it at night, it's pretty phenomenal.
Is it better at night?
Oh my gosh, I don't know if you knew this, but all of the characters are all painted in that indigo black light reflective lights.
Okay.
And there must be black lights in there because they all glow to a different level that you don't see during the day.
Okay.
And it really makes the characters stand out quite a bit more. And of course it's darker, so then their tubes don't show as well. So then the illusion is there a lot better. And so then that's pretty fitting. But that kind of goes to the point that I was making in the beginning, that I thought that it could use some enclosed show buildings, and it would get you out of the heat for just a few moments and give you a bit of an air-conditioned moment, especially when you're coming back into that queue, having that air-conditioned for you and have it dark and have it lit as well. Because, I mean, I would guess 90% of the people that ride that ride are riding it during daylight hours.
Right.
So only 10% are seeing it in the nighttime glory that it is.
Well, and it's crazy because you think they would give every opportunity, since they did such, I consider this a rather minimal change.
Yeah.
You think they would want to give everyone the opportunity to see it at its best.
Right.
Right? So it is disappointing to hear that it's so much better at night versus during the daylight hours.
Well, even the part that we dislike the very most is the Jack on sticks near the very end. Right?
I hate that part.
If y'all have not seen this video, if you haven't seen it in person, maybe it looks better in person than it does on the video, but
it does not look better.
And it looks better at night because you don't see that he's on sticks. And so then it feels like, but had they built some sort of show building around that, even there's a potential you could have done that too.
Well, you could have done projections.
I guess
then.
To do that in 4 months is a bit extreme.
It is a bit much.
And that's the
problem. So basically what they did, we're complaining about it, we haven't even said what they did yet. Basically what they did is put a bunch of stagnant characters around the tracks. They don't move. I think there's one instance where Jack is a projection when he's jumping dimensions at the beginning. But the rest of the time, it's a bunch of sculpted, stagnant characters. And like I said, you're going really quick. You're moving at a very quick clip through that ride. So you don't want to do too much because it's going to get lost.
Right.
But something would have been better than driving past mannequins. You know what I mean? And the Jack's at the end, you get to near the end of the ride and you hear somebody say, "Oh, Jack's multiplying." And then literally, especially in the daytime, it looks ridiculous. There are a bunch of babies on sticks all around the tracks, and you're like, "Oh, Disney, no. What is this?" I felt...
You almost have to call family services on it because it feels like it's so inappropriate.
There's a bunch of babies on sticks up here. And, it had such potential to be really fun. And like we said, it was a quick change.
Yeah.
So maybe it wasn't quite what they were planning on. I don't know.
But listen how cool this is.
Okay, give me something cool.
Apparently, in one of the tubes that you go through, they pump in the smell of cookies.
Oh, well, I'm down for that.
And they offer you the chance to buy cookies at the end of the ride.
Which we said they needed to do.
And it felt like the conceptual art that was behind it.
Right.
It looked to me like that was definitely what
nice.
And I lost my mind, y'all. I was like, shut up. I want a Jack cookie so bad. Oh my gosh, I want this Jack.
Well, and you've been talking about cookies for months now.
I can't stop talking about it just from the rendering of this, of the refurb.
Right, because we saw the idea originally at California. They had like an artist rendering up on a wall, and it showed Jack's cookies, and you were like, "Oh, I hope they really have a Jack's cookies place." And I was like, oh, yeah, that would be fun. But you wouldn't let go of this cookie idea.
I can't let go of it. Well, and it's even that last show building when you're circling back into the station.
Right.
That's what Edna's handing him is that big cookie, and he's like
Right.
oversized Jack, and
Yeah.
oh, and at night it really stands out, and you're like, I would love for her to give me one of them big old cookies.
So naturally, Steve and we discuss patches a lot in this house, and Steve said we should do a cookie patch for Jack, and I said, well, and this was before the movie was even out. I said, well, I want to make sure that there's nothing negative about the cookies before I make a patch about it, because I don't want to be offensive about anything. So we waited to see the movie, and then almost immediately said, yeah, we need a Jack cookie patch. And so I immediately went on a search trying to find a style and a theme for the patch that I thought would be fun. The Incredibles movies take place in a 1950s, 60s style
Very
era.
mid-century.
And so I was like, I want to find cool 60s patches that I can kind of emulate, and we can do a Jack's Incredible Cookie Company. And we had such a fun time arguing over colors and patterns and things, because I wanted more colors, and Steve's like, that's too many colors. And it was a fun patch to kind of try different colors out on and different imagery on and see what worked.
Yeah, because it definitely has a very retro 50s vibe about it.
It does,
Yet
yeah.
still keeps the cookie on full display for
Right.
me.
Because that's what Steve cares about the most, is the cookie.
But there was a big discussion about the cookies on the bottom of the patch, right?
Well, because Steve, you really liked them being actual cookie colored.
Yeah.
The brown color.
Yeah.
But
Like the
everybody
rainbow
else,
cookies.
no, that's not true. All the women that I showed the patch to liked the colored cookies on the bottom with lots of fun psychedelic colors. All the men that I showed the patch to liked the regular cookie color. But unfortunately, I know more women, so the women won, apparently. I don't know.
So for that reason, we now have psychedelic cookies at the bottom. Had you told me that's what they were, then I would have been very into that. That I could have said
Oh, I didn't sell it right.
is a psychedelic cookie.
That's my fault. I'm sorry. They don't have special ingredients. They're just special colors. So calm down.
in my mind.
But it's a super fun, hyper colorful patch. And then I thought, just for fun, it's round, kind of like Jack's head. I thought it would be fun to put a little homage to Jack's hair in the top corner with it sticking out on top.
Yeah.
And I think they came out super fun.
Yeah.
And very much on brand for us. It's something that people that love the movie will look at and recognize.
Yeah.
But it's also something that you could wear around and people would just think that you're wearing a cool Cookie Company patch.
Yeah.
And I think it worked out great.
Yeah, I do too. Well, I've been into the idea of cookies forever.
Well,
but
anything with a cookie on it, Steve.
you know this is the first thing I'm going to wear the next time we go back to California Adventure, though, right? Is this Jack Cookie Company?
Oh, all right. Well,
yeah.
we'll have to work on getting you some clothes with patches on them so you can wear it around.
Lucky for us.
Lucky you.
If you're looking to buy the patch, you can go to disneypatch.com is the easiest way to find it. It'll take you right there to that patch, and you can find it there.
Plus lots of other patches
Yeah.
that are fun to wear also.
A full year.
We're at a year already?
Over a year. Mhm.
Wow. So
No,
y'all
not
got
quite
some
a year.
catching up to do.
Yeah.
Start buying some patches.
I,
But this has been a real quick discussion of Incredibles 2, the Incredicoster, and this month's patch, JJ's Incredible Cookie Company. So let us know what you think. Let us know by buying a patch, or let us know by commenting on our YouTube videos. And until next time, follow my perfectly sculpted two-finger Disney point to the exit, and we'll see you then on the Obscure Disney Podcast.